series. So we have done quite a few sessions on the Marketing Cloud. Now we thought let's take a step back and then start with the very beginning. So before we even start implementing, we how do we take care of the sales or the pre-sales process? So this is generic. We are trying to keep it as generic as possible. So anybody who is not a marketing expert or need not worry about any of the clouds. So it is generic to anybody who wants to navigate the sales and the pre-sales area. So we have our wonderful speakers, Piyusha, Kunal, and Shreya, presenting content for this series. So we have 7 sessions for this series. If we go to the next slide, Piyusha. So we have 7 sessions in this series, and today's session is about the introduction. How do we get started? What is the process, the sales, pre-sales, and how is it different? And move on to the next slide, Piyusha, please. And we have the schedule for the entire series. So today we're going to look at the introduction of what the process is actually, and we are going to also look at the different aspects of the process. How do we generate the leads? How do we qualify? And then after the qualification, how do we get the requirements and then demos and then all the estimations, negotiations, and everything that goes into the process. So we have spent some time, we brainstormed all the ideas and put in all the topics, all the content that goes into the process and also which is necessary for anybody who wants to be an expert. So if you think you would like some of the topic to be covered as well, we are more than happy to include that in the series. So as of now, these are the topics that we have included. If you think anything can be added also, we will be happy to do that. Please let us know. So across the 7-day period, we will be learning all these topics one by one, and along with demos as applicable. So now for the 4th session, we have demo. Maybe we can cover a slight, very brief demo of how do we continue the process. And these sessions happen every Tuesday and Thursday, all at the same time, 6:30 p.m. IST and 8 a.m. Eastern. So this continues from today onwards without any break in between. So for the next 1 month, we will be together learning about the process. And we do have swag. So each session, we will be identifying one winner from the questions. So at the end of the session, we can have some questions, and whoever answers the questions, we will select one person. And also we understand that we are having it in a different time zone and not everybody would be able to attend the session live. So we also decided we will have one voucher for a person who watches the recording and answers the questions. Also we'll also outline the process, how it looks like, how you can submit the answers. So in case if you're not able to attend the next session, or if your friend cannot attend, they can still apply for the swag vouchers. So I will share the process shortly at the end of the session. So in today's session, we do have our speakers, Kunal and Piyusha. Kunal, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. So I think in terms of about myself, I mean, currently I am co-founding Cloud Therapy, a boutique Salesforce partner, and overall I hold 8 years of experience on the Salesforce Marketing Cloud side, and I've been a marketing champion in terms of 2 years back, with various platforms that I've handled with respect to Marketing Cloud, personalization, Data Cloud. So yeah, I mean, overall expertise on the marketing side, and yeah, looking forward to these sessions in terms of discussing pre-sales and sales, which become the important part before the implementation and the integrations that we all do. Thank you.
Awesome. We're happy to have you, Kunal. Thank you for accepting our invite and being part of the series. Piyusha, please go ahead. You're on mute, Piyusha, if you're talking.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. I'm Piyusha. I am Solution Architect at Implementology. I am a Salesforce MVP, a Golden Hoodie marketing champion. I am also a Trailhead Forum ambassador and Sales Blazer advisor. I have over a decade of experience in marketing automations and CRM consulting. and I help businesses create smarter and more connected workflows using Slack and Salesforce. Um, and I actually can see a lot of the familiar faces in the chat as well. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Piyusha, for being part of this series. Just a quick thing, your voice is not so clear. If you can check in the meantime, it would be great. And we do have another speaker presenting for the series. She's not presenting today, but she'll be joining in the other sessions. Shriya Rashinkar, she is Global Head Salesforce Solutions at Tech Mahindra. So thank you everyone for joining the series. A few logistics, if you have any questions, post them in the chat. We will answer them at the end of the session or between the topics when we are discussing when it is apt. So any questions outside of the series of the session, you can reach out to us on the LinkedIn. Piyusha, please take it forward.
Awesome. Well, today we are going to talk about sales, pre-sales, the difference between these two. And then Kunal will take us through the roles in an organization and teams and the experience required for pre-sales. He also has planned some brainstorming activities, so you are in for a ride. Awesome. So let's get started with the very basics. What is sales? It's a question which everyone thinks like, okay, I know what sales is, but every time like it's a very basic thing. Anything we do in exchange of money is sale. So if I'm selling you a used product, it's also a sale. If I'm selling you a service, it's also a sale. So anything which we do in exchange of a currency is sales, like in very simple terms. However, it's a very broad concept, and it's always awesome to break it down into like pieces to understand what different types of sales are. And that's why we are going to touch upon basics of sales in this slide, but we're going to primarily focus on B2B sales because that's where we shine, most of us, and that's where we need to play a big role in pre-sales as well, because for the rest of the things, as a Salesforce consultant, those are not much of use for us, except for maybe channel sales, and we're going to learn all about that moving forward. So the very first type of sale is inside sales, and you might have received calls from different companies selling them their product. It could be a credit card company rep calling you to share more details about their credit card. It could be, maybe your phone company selling you a new plan. Anything like that is an inside sale where you don't necessarily have to go anywhere. You can just call somebody or reach out to them and sell the products. It could be done through video calls. It could be done through emails or phones, things like that. Here again, the main job of an inside sales rep is to reach out to people, set up appointments, or like sell services directly. And then the next one is outside sales, which is like essentially the opposite of inside sales, because inside sales is a term named because you don't have to go outside to sell your products. You can sell it within the confinement of your home or the office or call center, wherever you are based in. But on the contrary, with the outside sales, you normally have to visit your customers at different locations to sell them your products or services. So you will probably have a territory and you'll be visiting those customers within your geography to sell them your products and services. A big chunk of this job is traveling to visit your customers. Now, our favorite one, which is B2B, and a lot of you might be familiar with this term because Salesforce actually mostly sell to B2B customers. Salesforce normally sells to businesses, not to individuals, and that's why it's business to business sales, which is B2B. It's essentially meaning we are selling a product or service to another business. It could be a furniture seller buying wood from somebody else. So the wood supplier is selling it to furniture manufacturer, or maybe in our case, Salesforce selling to other tech companies, Salesforce selling to PepsiCo, anyone, you know. The interesting bit is B2B sales cycles are typically longer because they involve a higher cost associated with the deals, more complexity and more stakeholders. And we're going to learn about that in the upcoming slides. The next step on our list is B2C sales. Most of you might be aware of this type of sales because when we go to a retail mart, Walmart, Reliance in India, anywhere, when we go there and purchase an item, it's a business selling to a customer, which is a B2C sales. So in this case, businesses sell directly to customers. But then they are not brands directly selling to customers. Brands, if they are selling directly to customer, it's direct sales or D2C sales. When it's business selling to customer, it's B2C sales. There's a slight difference. And then next up on the list, we have channel sales. So when we sell through a company, it's channel sales. So for example, I'm a Salesforce partner and I'm helping my customer buy a specific product from Salesforce without Salesforce sales team getting involved. That is, Salesforce is getting the sale through a channel. So I am the channel as a partner. So whenever companies sell through partners or intermediaries, it's channel sales. Next up, we have e-commerce sales. All of us are aware of this because we have purchased many things from different e-commerce companies. And then we have direct sales. As I mentioned before, when a brand is selling directly to a consumer, it's direct sales. So directly, if PepsiCo starts selling directly to consumers, it will be a D2C brand. However, they don't. They sell through channels and partners and businesses and stuff like that. And last up is account-based sales. This is also a key role in SaaS because sometimes salespeople don't sell to customers directly. They will be account executives and they will be handling certain accounts. So for example, Salesforce has sold Sales Cloud to a certain company. Now that account executive might do account-based sales, pushing them to buy maybe Service Cloud, pushing them to buy Marketing Cloud and things like that, or like helping them make those purchases again is what they do as an account for account-based sales. Now, once we have a good idea of this, there are a lot of different types of sales methodologies as well. That's totally dependent on your company, and we're not going to go into that today because it's more like I'm going to teach you sales, which is not the purpose of this. But these are the types of sales, and why I'm sharing this is because so that you have a very clear picture as to how you're doing. Because normally in the SaaS sales, we are going to do B2B sales, channel sales, or account-based sales. With the three of them, it's always a different story. In B2B case, we are trying to establish connection from the get-go because that's our very first interaction. Whereas in case of account-based sales, they already are aware of our services and they've bought something from us, and now we're selling them something else on top of that. So we already have a relationship. So the pre-sale cycle might look very different from the B2B sales pre-sale cycle. And then last up, we have channel sales because channel sales are normally when Salesforce directly recommends a partner, and then they use that partner services as a partner and getting that sale through a channel because I have never approached that client directly. Now, in case of account-based sales, sometimes the client might be interested in working with a similar set of people, which they have worked on phase one, maybe. In channel sales, we might want to put specific people because there are other people involved and they want like certain types of things. So for B2B sales, we have a dedicated team, and I'm going to use that. There are different processes different companies use for different types of sales they're making on a day-to-day basis. Now, we talked briefly about how B2B sales are tricky. So B2B sales, again, as I mentioned, are where we're going to focus today, involves selling goods or services to businesses, but they are tricky because the sales cycle are longer. The thing is, the higher the deal size, the longer it takes for a customer to decide. Because the stakes are higher, they're always thinking about, okay, how can I optimize it? Can I negotiate it somewhere? Is this the right decision for me? There are several stakeholders involved. If somebody is buying a $10 million product, they obviously want to vet it through and through before making that purchase. So the CFO, CEO, if we are buying maybe marketing cloud, CMO, different people based on the product we're purchasing might be involved. But there are multiple stakeholders from end user of that product to leadership teams, all are involved in the process most of the time. They are highly aware because when the stakes are high, they obviously want to get demos from multiple different vendors before finalizing one particular person. So even if, for example, you work with a partner, the client you're reaching out to already has bought Salesforce. Even now, they want multiple vendors to bid for the same product. The reason behind that is if they do decide to get you onboarded for the implementation and you're not able to perform well, it will be a headache for them to bring another consultant on board. So once you're up with them, you'll probably be able to continue that for a lifetime rather than them reaching out to somebody else. Unless you mess up the implementation, the chances are slim. The market is niche, and so is the audience, always in the case of B2B sales. The reason, again, behind that is that we are selling a high stake product. So they want to focus on everything before they make a decision. And lastly, as I mentioned, the sales cycles are extremely long. Sometimes it takes even a year and a half. I've seen that happening, actually even multiple years before a client does make a decision on where they want to go, because again, they need to be bound by that product for a very long duration. If they're making a wrong decision, it's going to bite them again, and it'll be horrible for them to move forward with that pace. So let's talk about steps involved in a typical B2B sales process. Sorry, is someone saying something?
Oh, no, Pisha, I think we could.
Okay, perfect. So B2B sales processes are normally tricky. You start by researching about your client, their business, your products as well. And then you try to make sure that whatever your value proposition is perfect for your customers so that you can seamlessly collaborate together. Then we move on to prospecting. It normally involves finding the customer, finding the lead, maybe reaching out to them on LinkedIn, or you might have met them at a conference. There are various different ways to actually find a prospect. Once you have found a prospect and you feel like that your prospect actually is the perfect candidate for your product, you then qualify them. You start reaching out to them. Your salespeople might start building relationship with them at this point. But until this point, technical team is not involved in most of the cases, because the research, prospecting, and qualifying is all done by sales and marketing, not by technical team. Then comes the next bit. Once you have qualified and research and everything is done, you focus on pitching, because your sales team have set up a demo and they want to see what you can bring to the table. The technical team at this point will go through all the conversations that have happened in the past and try to come up with a pitch That is a form of a presentation. In some cases, it might be the product demo, but normally in Salesforce Solutions case, this is a form of a presentation mostly. And this is where some companies do showcase demos, and that's where in our later sessions we're going to talk about POC and POV. So once the pitching happens, because it's a very crucial step, up until now, my sales team might be promising all the best things in the world. But now at this stage, the tech team will take the reins and will show them what's possible for them. And this is where you actually show the future to your customers. You sell them on a golden future, and it makes your sales team's life a bit easier. A lot of the time in pitching, you get objections as well, because what your sales team has promised, you might not be able to deliver that exactly. And so it becomes an issue. And here, tech teams need to actually have this skill of managing these objections. As a pre-sales consultant, this is a crucial step, because a lot of time, when sales team tries to handle these objections, they will again promise anything and everything, which is not possible in majority of the cases. And so handling these objections in a creative way is what pre-sales consultant does, basically. Once all that is done and client has given a go-ahead, the sales team will close the deal, and then we will start working on delivering that project. And to be able to reach to that successful project delivery, and lastly, the nurturing of that customer, there's a step missing, which I forgot actually. Before nurturing, we need to do a successful delivery, because if we haven't done the successful delivery, it is not going to go back up to the next stage, which is like account-based selling, the one we mentioned previously. So at this stage, I want my pre-sales team to do an official handover to my delivery team, where they will be taking all the knowledge which they have gained through this sales cycle, passing that on to the sales team, and then, delivery team, and the delivery team will start planning as to how they want to run the project, the build process, and all of those things. That process is really crucial. Without that, the project might not succeed, and you will lose the customer. You will not have the chance to sell them again. So pre-sales team plays a big part in sales to delivery handover, and we are going to learn about that in our upcoming sessions as well. For today, the next topic we are going to learn about is pre-sales. So up until this point, we were talking about what sales is, how people do sales, and things like that. Now, we obviously are not salespeople, so we don't need to do research, prospecting, and qualifying, but we do have to understand what pre-sales is and what they do. Now, when we talk about pre-sales, think about pre-sales as all the activities which a tech team does, or which the team does, to support the sales team before they're able to close the sales. Everything that is included in this. It could include, sometimes we're also helping with customer research, prospecting, discovery calls, qualifying, everything. Majority of the time, pre-sales teams are not included in these activities, but sometimes they do, depending on the company and how they're running. The basic intent at this stage for pre-sales team is to gain a deeper understanding of customers' need and match those to our solutions. My customer is interested in building a really fancy journey on a marketing cloud. Now, I might want to sell them on that dream that this is how they can actually start onboarding their customers. This is how they can run this journey by using emails, SMS, maybe mobile app notifications and things like that. And they might want to, do this, and I might sell them on a dream that, hey, if you do this, you might be able to get a lot more customers versus if you do this. And all of that I can do with the support of pre-sales team. So tech team actually runs the whole show here. Now, why is pre-sales important? Because it helps sales reps to focus on their strengths, and that is relationship building. It's a salesperson's job to have a good relation with their client, but it's not their job to sell them on the dream which we are selling them on. It also helps us focus more on the qualified leads, because we don't essentially need to focus on each and everything. We need to figure out if this is a high value task, this is where we're going to focus on. And for customers in general, it actually creates a better customer experience, because I'm not just hearing about things in my dream, I'm also able to see that visually. I'm able to connect with the technical team of my client, and I can see what they're doing and how they're doing. Because a lot of times in these demo calls and meetings, the client side tries to get their most technical person in. And if you're not prepared to answer those questions, you might not be able to offer them good experiences. This sounds like a dream for now. The sales and pre-sales role. Sales team is executing everything, building relationship, trying to sell them more and more services, using all the research of the pre-sales team to close the deal. It's also an on-field role, whereas the pre-sales role, sometimes people say that this is not an on-field role. I tend to disagree with that. The reason behind that is both are client-facing roles. As a pre-sales person as well, I often travel to client location. I interact with them, understand their processes, and from there we can move forward. Same goes for sales team, but they do interact with the client a lot more at the beginning, because they want to build relationship with them before they can sell them something. Whereas with the pre-sales team, a lot of the work is done behind the scenes, because you are researching your client, you are trying to prepare technical documentation for them, you're trying to prepare POE and POCs for them so that you can sell those dreams. Very limited amount of your time will go towards building relationship. You might have to sell them the dream, but you don't have to focus on those kind of things. And that's why a lot of time people assume that as a pre-sales person, you're not going to be client facing, but that's a myth. You will always be a client facing person, even in the pre-sales roles, depending on how your company's sales cycle works. Now, let's learn about some pre-sales best practices. Because if you're not following the best practices, you might fall down the rabbit hole and the project gets derailed. And that's how it happens, actually. For pre-sales to work in the best possible way, you want the team knowing in and outs of your product. You want to hire people who have all the details about your product. In most of the pre-sales roles, if you see in Salesforce ecosystem, you will find extremely qualified consultants or strategists and technical architects or solution architects working on pre-sales projects. They have extremely good knowledge of the industry or the product they're selling. They can figure out the customer's pain points. At the same time, they can also work on building trust with the customers through their conversations. The next thing which you want to do within pre-sales is defining a process. A lot of the time I've seen companies not having a process and then struggling to close deals. Whenever you're working on a sales or a pre-sales role, make sure you map out your pre-sales steps clearly. Who owns what, when this particular team member will be involved, when somebody else might be involved. Everyone should know their roles and the reason behind it and what they're supposed to do at which stage. Because otherwise, it'll just be chaos. You'll have a lot of people, but nobody knows what's going on. The next thing which you need to focus on is gathering as much information as possible, because if you know a lot of the details about your client's pain points, you can then do magic with that information and share them, like sell them the dream which we were talking about. You Once you understand the pain points, you might be able to figure out how to solve that problem. You will be able to figure out how to make who all stakeholders might be involved in this, who all you need to convince to, sell your services. So your pre-sales team will do this research if they have a good idea about what's happening and how. Next up, you always need to make sure that you're offering them the best value. You might want to send them things or questions before. You might want to um, read around the industry your client is, because you want to tell them that you are capable of solving their issues at that stage. And for that, you need to do the pre-work yourself. You need to make them understand the value you bring in. Once that's done, you need to be prepared, because everyone's time is always precious. You need to figure out how the pre-sales team can help you, prepare the meetings, presentations, demos, and everything. There might be a lot of people involved in this process, so you need to do your homework, and then only you'll be able to prepare for the bargaining, because a lot of time the customers are always in the mood of negotiation. They want to pay a certain amount of money for all the work you're doing. If you're prepared with your homework, you'll be able to nail that. Next up, set expectations. And this is a very clear thing, because if you're not setting expectations, you are putting your team for failure, because you might promise something during this process. Once the delivery process starts, the team might not be able to deliver that. So always set expectations. Put in the things which might create misunderstandings in the contract very clearly, and then that will probably help your team in a much better way. Lastly, always try to measure performance, because if you're not measuring the performance, you don't have a way to figure out whether the pre-sales process you're following is right or wrong. I might pitch in to 10 different customers and I'm not closing any deal. That's not a good success rate. I'm pitching to 30 customers, only getting one project. That's also not a good success rate. So you need to figure out what's your industry standard success rate and how you are measuring up to that. If you are doing almost exactly like your peers, you might be at a decent stage. So you might have some opportunity to still figure out how you can make it better for yourself, and so on and so forth. We have talked about the best practices. Now let's talk about some of the common challenges as well. Because at this stage, if you're not following through things properly, you might end up in a position where your team is still struggling with a lot of things. The first thing is over promising features and timelines, and I've mentioned it multiple times so far already. Pre-sales team does that a lot. I've seen this happening over and over again in my previous organizations as well, because at pre-sale stage, you feel like, okay, if I promise them this thing, maybe we might be able to close the sale. And that's always a tricky thing, because if your delivery team is not able to deliver that, they're not going to come back to you. They're also going to talk to other people talking about, hey, we got the project done by that team and they were not able to do it. So always make sure that you're not over-promising features or timelines, because both have a significant impact on keeping your relationship up with the client. If you're doing a fantastic job with your client, they will refer you anyways. But if you're over-promising and under-delivering, it's going to have issues for you later. Next is misalignment between sales and delivery. And this is also a very tricky thing. And I've seen that happening over and over again. And I'm going to talk about this dedicatedly, I think, on day 6. Because once all is said and done, and pre-sales and sales team, and just considering them in the sales team only, they forget to share crucial parts of the information to the delivery team. And this is where the misalignment happens. And one thing leads to another. And the client becomes so unhappy with this that they're not interested in, working with the partner anymore. Next step is scope creep post project start. And this happens because the SOWs, which the sales team and pre-sales team have prepared, doesn't contain what the client is looking for. The client might be sunsetting a specific product because they have bought a new one and they have asked us to implement that. There might be some details which are essential for them to be in this new project. And sales team have promised that, which is not possible, and even they know it. And they have forgot to mention that to the sales team, to the delivery team, and the scope creep starts because client wants that anyways, but they wanted to sell the product, so they just agreed to anything and everything, but it was not originally in the scope as per the delivery team, and now they want it there, so they want to add more in the scope of the project, which again derails the project, because if you're adding more things in the scope, you will impact the budget and the timeline. These 3 things always run parallelly. If one is out of sync, the other 2 will not be able to run properly either. So think of it as a 3-legged tool. If one leg is not functioning properly, the stool is not stable. Always think about scope, timeline, and budget properly. And lastly, lack of documentation. This is again a big part because the pre-sales team sometimes have multiple meetings with the clients before actually closing the deal. And if they're not documenting those properly, client might come back and say that, hey, I mentioned this to your team ages ago and you're not doing that. But if you don't have a record of that ever happening, how are you going to work on that? So always make sure that you are focusing on documentation. If possible, we can probably do a brainstorming activity in our sales to delivery handover to do some brainstorming on this. And that will be a fun way for you all to analyze how these things actually play a big role when we are delivering a project. To me, I feel like pre-sales isn't just about closing a deal. If you are doing pre-sales properly, your projects are going to succeed. So pre-sales to me is all about ensuring a project success through and through. The last bit I want to share for today before handing it over to Kunal is the collaboration between sales, pre-sales, and delivery. And I've emphasized enough on this already, but I still want to mention it before I hand it over. How sales team, pre-sales, and delivery team works together, it defines your project success. So if you're not maintaining the documents, if you're not doing the handovers properly, if your meetings alignment is not proper, and you're not managing clients' expectation, you are setting your team for a failure, not for success. So always make sure that you don't work as an independent entity as a pre-sales consultant. You always work in harmony with sales and delivery team. And that's it from me. Over to you, Kunal.
Thanks, Piyusha. Thanks for the amazing insights. Hey everyone. I think just a quick question. I think we can have like a show of hands in terms of, based on what Piyusha covered, what does everyone think? I mean, in terms of which is important between sales and pre-sales. How many of them for maybe say sales?
I see all all the answers as pre-sales.
Got it. Perfect. I think I mean, both are as such important, but I think we will reach to that. I mean, I would not say a conclusion, but it will always remain that which one is important. I think as long as Piyusha mentioned, as long as, say, we are able to do justice to the project and get the project, I mean, both the teams play an important role in their capacity with respect to sales and pre-sales. Yeah, Piyusha, we can move to the next one. So, in terms of how organizations shape up the role, I mean, in terms of between pre-sales and sales, so this is just typically with respect to in terms of uh, between the two teams, or typically in an organization, how does it work? So you will have, say, a sales team and a pre-sales team. A sales team typically will be divided into, I would say, a BDR, SDR, who does the groundwork in terms of, say, maybe generating leads, reaching out to the leads, talking to them, doing that first call with the leads in terms of overall having that conversation, setting up a meeting for the sales team or for the account rep, so that he or she can take it forward in terms of the next steps. Then you'll have an account rep who is basically doing that conversation, trying to understand that first level of requirements, trying to showcase the overall Salesforce solution, or as a partner a solution with respect to what offerings you have, and then getting to know in terms of what the customer problems are. Once that happens, I mean, in terms of overall, so those, in terms of on-field role, or in terms of the client-facing role, that would be typically handled by the sales team, and you will have a sales team dedicated to that. Pre-sales typically, I mean, would be the ones who would be, helping with respect to, so as Piyusha covered in terms of, and as we plan to cover in future in terms of the future sessions as well, help you with respect to in terms of understanding what the requirements are from the client, what is the solution that needs to be offered, with the POV preparation, with the presentation preparation, doing the demos, also in terms of having a small, I mean, so small project coordination in terms of getting the tech team along, getting the sales team along, getting them to one room, getting a BA along, having those entire document rolled out with respect to an entire solution approach that is there, the response to the RFP, response to the RFI, drafting a proposal out. So you will have a pre-sales team as well, which caters to all of that. And in terms of overall, it would be a combination of both, which drive the sale of a product or sale of a solution that you are offering. So I mean, those would be the two roles typically with respect to in terms of pre-sales and sales. A typical pre-sales definitely requires that technical acumen, a little bit of solution, ca- you know, capabilities, as well as a know-how with respect to how the products work. Because when you are giving a solution, you are helping your sales team in terms of giving that solution that is there. It becomes important that you know the know-how of the products. Whereas compared to that, I mean, the sales team would be more of a client-facing and more of a person who would be talking to the customer, doing the negotiations, and getting the deal along in terms of in your quote. So yeah, this would be the typical roles. Yeah, Piyusha, we can move to the next one. In terms of a typical fitment for a pre-sales role, so as said, typically requires where you have good communication skills. You should be able to connect with different team members, because you will talk to multiple teams in terms of to get that right solution across, to build that right solution across. A little bit of technical acumen in terms of the know-how of the products, how the products work, as well as with respect to in terms of what the typical solution will look like. Definitely in terms of, say, good documentation, good presentation skills as well, because you will say write your proposals, you will build a proposal presentation for the solution. Uh, in fact, I mean, some part of it when I started pre-sales, I mean, honestly, I was very bad at presentations, but I with time I understood that pre-sales definitely requires presentations and to be built, so you have to have that good presentation skills. And even with respect to a good oration as well as ability to summarize, because you will get a lot of insights from the sales team, a lot of insights from when you talk to that prospect that is there, in terms of that these are my problem statements, these are my problem areas. But you have to have that ability to summarize that when you're presenting to your team and present coming up with a solution. So yes, definitely an ability to, in terms of summarize and then come up with a solution that is there. So this would be typically with respect to on the pre-sale side. Next slide. From the sales side, I mean, a typical fitment or a typical requirement would be where, uh, yes, you should have like contacts in the industry. I mean, whichever market you cater to. I mean, let that be India, abroad. I mean, whichever market you cater to. But definitely, I mean, you should be, uh, I mean, having contacts to whom you can pick up, whom you can talk to, present your solution, tell about your product, and see. I mean, create a like a requirement that is there. If you have contacts, I mean, you're able to navigate that market definitely faster and in a better way. Good communication skills, interpersonal skills, in terms of you have to listen to a lot of people, listen to, I mean, in terms of within the organization also, you will meet a different people, different skill sets. You will hear them, hear their problems, you will hear their requirements. So you should have that capacity to, I mean, good listening skills and good communication skills. Definitely once the solution is ready, uh, good presentation skills, you should be able to convince the uh, person that you're talking to, or a team that you're talking to, or a prospect that you're talking to, definitely able to convince them with respect to believing in you, believing in your solution, believing in your product. And say once you have that with respect to where you are able to convince them, you are able to, uh, that involves a little bit of empathy, sympathy, where if you're empathetic and able to convince them, saying that you understand their problem and you are here to solve the problem, that definitely helps in terms of getting the deal across and being a good salesperson that is there. Negotiation, uh, again, a skill where you will have to see, your side of the P&L, your side of the revenue that you need to generate, the targets that you have as a company. I mean, to keep on growing, and at the same time, in terms of where the customer will or the prospect will have a specific budget, a specific number that is there in mind. So you will have to have a good negotiation skill, so that you are making money for your company as well, but at the same time you're not losing out on a customer after the multiple iterations of the conversations that you've had. And in terms of storytelling skills, I mean, so yeah, good communication skills, good storytelling skills in terms of convincing the customer, presenting to them similar use cases or similar prospects or customers that are there who've been in that zone, but using the solution, using the products that you've presented to that particular customer, they're able to grow, they are able to say achieve the results that they wanted to. And that definitely helps, where listening to stories, listening to customer stories, it definitely gives that confidence to your prospect and definitely make them better decisions. I think again, I'm taking a scenario, just wanted to pick the brains with respect to and understand, I mean, what people think in terms of these scenarios, which teams will come in, which teams will be involved. So here I have Cloudbox. I mean, it's a Salesforce partner. It specializes in Salesforce solutions. They're present in 4 locations across, say, America. Now they receive an inquiry with on the website from a retail company who is looking to implement, like say, the Salesforce CRM, marketing, and the intelligence solution. Now the retail company, what they do is they attach a RFP document on the website, and they provide a date with respect to in terms of responding to the RFP. Which team will pick up the RFP and you think will respond to the RFP? Which team will be involved there? I think you can put in your answers in the, I mean, chat or with respect to.
I see Manpreet and Princey answering as pre-sales.
Right.
Everyone, please post your answers. It doesn't matter if it is right or wrong.
Great. I think I see a majority of them with respect to pre-sales. Yeah, I mean, it would be, I mean, yes, definitely pre-sales will pick it up, but you will have the sales team as well involved in terms of, seeing the company size, seeing with respect to how large or how they can make the ticket size larger. So definitely you'll have the sales team as well, but definitely from the RFP side, it will be picked up by the uh, in terms of say maybe the pre-sales team, and then you will have the sales team also involved, and in terms of a response it will be a combination of pre-sales and sales who will respond to the RFP that is there. Yeah, we can look at the next one.
And Kunal, can we take a quick pause here and see any questions we have? And
Yeah,
everyone, so we will pick one winner for the certification voucher today. And after answering the questions that are posted by you, we will have a question. So you can answer it, and we'll pick one winner from the answers. So before we have that, let's go to the Q&A section and look at the questions.
sure. I think I'll
Kunal,
pick it
I
up.
think this is for you. Is it mandatory for pre-sales person to have all the vertical knowledge before they start the journey?
So not really. I mean, so they don't need to have like a 100% knowledge with respect to all the verticals. They should just be overall aware about what their offerings are. So say if let's take the example of, I mean, say Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So I mean, the pre-sales person should be aware about the basic functionalities of Marketing Cloud, basic capabilities, so on and so forth. Then with respect to in terms of say specific industry verticals or say specific vertical knowledge that is there, they can have specific team members from the different verticals who can help them with respect to the know-hows and the knowledge, and which can then help them respond to the RFP or say providing the solution that is there. So not
I
that they require a
would
knowledge.
like to add something here as well.
Yeah.
Um, so as a pre-sales person, you will be interacting with a client. You will be interacting with their tech team as well at times. You don't necessarily have to be a developer to be able to be a pre-sales person, but you need to have a knowledge of a consultant. So if you have gone through all the things which you need to be a marketing cloud consultant, you will be able to cover all the things for the pre-sales perspective as well, because you then will be aware of all the features and functionality of marketing cloud, even though you are not a developer or you're not building those solutions, but you are aware of all the functionalities and features and how they work as a consultant. You will still have technical team members. So depending on which role you want to play, because normally in the pre-sales we have technical architects as well. They have they're extremely knowledgeable in their verticals, and then we do have consultants who are really good at working with the clients, understanding their pain points, and figuring out solutions for them. So totally depends on which role you're targeting for, but I will say you do need this knowledge to some extent.
Wonderful. Thank you. And there's a question by Samuel. Sales engineers or solutions engineer, where do they fit?
So this I can take up. Sorry, Kunal, if you want to take it up, you can.
Go ahead, Piyush.
Okay, perfect. So see, the thing is, sales engineer or solutions engineer is a person who has their technical knowledge and they try to sell those solutions or products or services to the customer as well. So the sales engineer essentially has a knowledge of the sales process as well as the products, which is like the perfect combination for the pre-sales role. Depending on how your company operates, Because if it's a highly specialized company like Salesforce, they might have sales engineers working for certain deals. Not for every situation, though, but high stakes deals, you want to pick one of every kind on your team to be able to succeed in that particular role. So it totally depends on the type of company you're working with. Again, this role fits in the pre-sales bucket.
And I think just adding to that, so basically, typically sales engineers or so sales engineers, I mean, when they are called as sales engineers, it's typically where you are helping the sales team out in terms of your solutioning and in terms of you also become some part of, I mean, selling a solution that is there. So typically you will work very closely with the sales team that is there. But whereas a solution engineer, yeah, I mean, then it's an open ground where uh, it's more of where you will do projects also, you will execute projects as well on the technical side, but somewhere you will help the sales team as well. So it's a, as Piyusha mentioned, yeah, it completely depends on organization to organization. But say if you take Salesforce, I mean, they work in a different way, where the sales engineers support the sales reps typically, and the solution engineers are the ones who typically actually execute projects in terms of technical side of things.
Thank you. And the next question, how do you measure the success of a pre sales engagement?
I think I touched upon this briefly during my slides as well. Normally, it depends on your organization. You either try to use the industry metrics as to within your industry. If, for example, somebody's submitting 10 RFPs and they're getting at least 2 deals out of those converted, and that's your industry standard, that you get 20% conversion from RFPs, you're doing good. But if your industry standard is maybe, say, 4 or 5 deals, then you probably need to work on fixing your processes. And Kunal might be able to add more to that. But there's a simple metrics and there are complex metrics and analytics which you can go through as well. But this is a very simple one which I've shared.
Yeah, I think,
Awesome.
and that's the one that's used across the industry typically, and then different organizations customize it as per their businesses and their requirements.
Wonderful. And the next question, what tools or platforms are commonly used in the sales pre sales activities?
I would say typically it's your MS Office, because I mean you will be making a lot of decks, your estimation sheets, which would be via say an Excel, where you will do your lot of math in terms of whatever in terms of cost, overhead cost, so on and so forth. In terms of your drafting of the proposal, I mean typically it would be Word. So I mean typically those are the tools that normally a pre-sales team uses, uh, and then over and above that, I mean, say sometimes in terms of say to coordinate with people or to cross teams, etc. I mean, you have a like of Slack, or say you go ahead create a Teams group or something of that sort, more from the coordination side. But I think typically with respect to creating these documents or creating these uh, framework, I think it's typically MS Office that is typically used. Piyusha?
Yes, actually, so you need to excel your presentation skills, documentation skills, Excel sheets, obviously, as Kunal mentioned. On top of these, the ones which I have used is Lucids as well, because Lucids helps you visualize those diagrams beautifully, and that way you'll be able to explain things to your customers in a nicer way. So whenever you're explaining a Salesforce diagram or a journey, it's a good practice to actually use those. I also use always a transcription tool, be it I'm doing a in-person conversation or a virtual conversation, because a lot of time we forget information during those conversations because everything which the client is sharing is of high value, and sometimes you never know when that might come in handy. So transcription tool, which can help you keep a record of everything as to who said what. And then Slack is like my favorite tool, which I love to use for collaboration, as Kunal mentioned, because the best part with Slack is that sometimes when I'm working with Salesforce team, I can use external channel and still collaborate with Salesforce team, my own team, everyone there. If I'm using Teams, that kind of like restricts me from adding external people from different companies. So that's why I love Slack as well, beyond the tools I've mentioned.
Awesome. So I think we are about the time. Um, let's take a break here. We can continue. I can save these questions and answer them at the very beginning of the session, the next session, which is on Thursday. So we can, Kunal will be joining the next session and we can have some of those questions answered in the next session. So if you are not able to attend the session, we will have the recording and you can check the recording there as well. So considering the time, so let's take a break here. So Kunal or Piyusha, can either of you have a question to decide the winner of the certification voucher? As mentioned earlier, we will pick one winner. So the fastest and the best answer. So I will let the presenters select the best answer.
Kunal, you can share the question.
And everyone, if you already received the vouchers through your company, if you're a partner company and you are getting free vouchers, you are getting reimbursed, please let's give the chance to the people who do not have that opportunity. So when you share your email addresses, make sure that you share the address that is linked to the Trailhead account. So I'm going to send the email address to the community team. So they're going to send the voucher directly. So make sure that you're giving the correct email address. So if you're providing the wrong email address, that will result in delays or not getting the voucher. So wishing you good luck. Kunal, if you're ready with the question, let us know. In the meantime, Piyusha, now we can take one more question. Let's see if.
If Kunal's not ready with a question, actually, I thought of something.
Sure,
Mhm.
go ahead.
So in the slide where I talked about typical B2B sales process, the steps involved in a B2B sales process, I actually mentioned that I forgot to add one step. Can you tell me what that step was? And I also mentioned that we'll be learning more about it in the upcoming sessions.
So I see questions, one line questions. If you can share more details about that, that would be helpful to pick the best answer.
Because this was also one of the topics for our upcoming session. Not upcoming, but like a future session. And the answers I'm seeing actually are not 100% correct.
Yeah, we need some detailed answer as well. And
There was a specific term which I use multiple times. It is related to delivery, that's true, but it's not exactly delivery. You might want to go back to the group and see what our future topics looks like, because so far I'm not able to see the correct answer. If you want to see which screen that was on, I can go
I
back
also
to that.
shared the link. Yeah, I also shared the link to the upcoming sessions. So we have the schedule at the very beginning, Piyusha. Second or third slide, maybe.
Okay. So this was the slide where I mentioned that there's a step between closing and nurturing. And that is a crucial step, which we will be talking about in the upcoming slides. In the upcoming sessions.
So we don't want one line or one word answers, please. So can you say the question again, Piyusha?
Yes. So when we were talking about steps involved in B2B sales process, I mentioned that between closing the deal and nurturing, there is a step which I forgot to mention there. And that's a crucial step, which also helps us moving towards the nurturing stage, because if we miss that, we are missing out on so many things. And that's a session, like a topic which we'll be covering in the upcoming sessions as well. It's listed on this sheet somewhere. And so far the answers are yes. Okay, we got it now. The Supriya mentioned it clearly. A robust handover process from pre-sales to delivery ensures successful project delivery, have happy customers, minimize risk. That is the correct answer. So it was the sales to delivery handover, which I forgot to mention in the steps. And this is a really crucial steps in ensuring the success of the project. Thank you so much, Supriya, for sharing this answer.
And thanks, everyone. Congratulations, Supriya. And we do have 6 other sessions. So make sure you attend the sessions. And also, we do have the Salesforce days happening. So Salesforce days is to help trailblazers prepare for the certification and clear the certifications. And when you attend one of their sessions, you will get 50% off discount code. You can apply and use it for any of the certifications. So that's also another opportunity. And let's continue this learning journey together. And Piyusha and Kunal, thank you very much for the session today and taking up all the questions and answering them. And everyone, thanks for your time. And we hope to see you again in the next sessions and to continue along the series. Piyush and Kunal, you want to add anything?
And that's it. Actually, I'm loving the response from everyone, and thank you so much for being here. If there is anything specific you want us to cover in the upcoming sessions, except for the fact that how to actually get more leads, because we're not exactly doing the sales bit here. We're talking more about the pre-sale side of the house. We will be happy to cover those. So please let us know your responses. We will try to cover those in the upcoming sessions. And thank you so much for being an active part of the session. It's super helpful when we're delivering something and you're responding with that to that, which kind of gives us the affirmation that you all are able to follow through what we're saying. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Salesforce days, somebody has asked about the Salesforce days. So it's the sessions that are focused on the certification. So there are many certification topics there. So you can check on the Google. So I'm trying to find the link, but I'm not able to find it yet. In the next session, I will get the link prior. But you can also Google it and check for the Salesforce days. It's coming up again. So that's a way you can have all the content that are specific to a particular certification. You can attend and be prepared for the certification, and alongside you will also get a 50% off voucher. Okay, Manpreet has already shared the link, so
Yes,
you can go there, check the relevant. You go ahead, Piyusha.
Get the all the details about Salesforce days in Partner Learning Camp. So you can log into Partner Learning Camp and you'll be able to access all the upcoming events, not just for Salesforce days, but all the events happening for partners specifically.
So I checked the link, Piyush, but I wasn't sure whether it will be accessible for non-partners. I think the partner Salesforce Days program is for everyone, but I have to check if it is just for the partners or every trailblazer.
So I think the generic link, I think this is there on the Salesforce help site, I mean, which is available for everyone. And then in terms of the specific courses and the specific dates, I think it's from the partner portal that is there.
Wonderful.
Because the only information I got was on the partners page. They posted on LinkedIn as well, talking about this. So as per my experience, this is on Partner Learning Camp.
Okay. So I have to check on that, Neha. I am not sure. We'll confirm that at the earliest possible. And once again, thanks everyone for attending the session. We hope to see you again on Thursday, same time. And we'll make sure we upload the video on the YouTube at the earliest possible. So if you want to go back and rewatch, you can check that. And thank you. So, see you again. Bye.
Playing from Piyush's desk 2.